Welcome to this video tutorial on the topic of parameters, Part 1. This video will show you how to adjust the global parameters for a crown in the System menu. Further tutorials on the topic of parameters are available in our tutorial library. The global parameters are located in the System menu. Once these have been set, they will apply for all following restorations until they are modified and saved again. If you wish to change the parameters for individual restorations, you can do so in the local restoration parameters in the design phase, before the initial proposal is calculated. The changes in the local restoration parameters only apply to the current case and do not change the global parameters. To open these now, click on the orange-colored arrow at the top left and then on Configuration. Next, click on Parameters. The Parameters menu is structured by restoration types. You can adjust the settings for each of the restoration types separately. Let's take a look at the parameters for a crown. The factory settings cannot be modified. However, you have the option of creating parameter profiles for different users. To do this, click on the plus symbol next to User Preset. For demonstration purposes, we are going to create two profiles. Each profile must be confirmed. We'll repeat the process and create a second profile. The profile Dentist 2 is marked with a star. This means that this is the master profile. To change this, select the other profile and then click on the star. To delete a profile, click on the wastebin icon. Now let's take a look at the different parameters in detail. There are parameters that are not dependent on the material and can be modified. However, there are also material-dependent parameters that have been defined by the material manufacturer. Modifying these is not recommended, but they can also be adjusted on your own responsibility. The spacer describes the space for the fixing material between the restoration and the stump. You can either enter the values directly into the field or adjust them with the slide controller. This applies to all parameters. With the occlusal milling offset, you can apply or remove material over the entire occlusal surface. Change this parameter only if your restorations are produced without occlusion or with too strong occlusion. The proximal contact strength determines the thickness of proximal contacts. The software tries to achieve this stored thickness in the restoration suggestions. The contacts are displayed using a color code including penetration levels in green, yellow, and red, as well as distance levels in turquoise, blue-green, and blue. The same color code also applies for the occlusal contact thickness. The dynamic contact strength defines the contact during the side shift movement in the mouth. This parameter is only used when the virtual articulator is used. The minimum radial thickness defines the minimum material thickness at the steep walls of the restoration. The software tries not to fall below this material thickness when calculating the restoration proposal. This value, together with the minimum occlusal thickness, is displayed in the design phase on the restoration as a semi-transparent cover. Areas where the thickness falls below the minimum level are thus made visible. The minimum material thickness of the occlusal part of the restoration is set in the parameter minimal thickness occlusal. A high value can lead to a flat morphology in cases of deep fissures penetrating the minimum thickness. Heed the material manufacturer's recommendations when setting the minimum thickness. The margin thickness defines how much ceramic is used to provide additional reinforcement on the restoration margin area. This should prevent splitting of the material during the grinding process. The additional material can be ground off manually before inserting the restoration. Confirm with OK if you have changed the parameters, and these should be applied for additional restorations. The changes are not saved if the process is cancelled. We will now leave the parameter area. Thank you very much for your attention. We would like to wish you every success when working with CEREC.